What's going on, everybody? This is Yes, I Read That, and today I am reviewing The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. Once again, it's time for something completely different, time to mix it up a bit, and this time it's a financial book teaching you how to handle your personal finances, and it tries to teach you through a set of parables set in ancient Babylon. First, I want to discuss the content of the book and then talk a bit about what's going on in the book and what I thought about it. So as I said, the story is structured in parables. We start with the story of a chariot owner in Babylon. He has worked all his life and doesn't really have anything to show for it. He doesn't really own anything, and now he starts wondering what the reason is why some people have like a lot of riches and others have nothing. He talks about this with his musician friend and says that he worked hard all his life and he was hoping that the gods would recognize this and gift him a wealthy life, and instead he doesn't really have anything to show for it. And the same goes for his musician friend. He says he's not really rich either and he could earn so much more money if only he had that better lyre that he cannot afford. So they start wondering why some people get rich and others don't, and they decide to ask the richest man in Babylon, he's called Akkad, for advice. Later in the book, Akkad actually holds a lecture with the same content to help other citizens in Babylon, and I'm just gonna summarize these 7 lectures. They call them the 7 cures for a lean purse, because I think that's pretty much everything you need to know from this book. So the first one is keep 1/10 of what you earn. Just keep that for yourself. So essentially just start saving money. Second thing he recognizes is that you should work with a budget, which means basically you should know how much money you spend and how much you earn, and you should keep track of everything to make it possible to save these 10%. So like adjust your lifestyle to a certain budget and use that all the time to make it possible to save these 10%. The next one is to make the gold you're saving multiply, which basically means to in some way invest that money and gain some profit from that investment. The next one is connected. It says guard thy treasures from loss. So even though you should invest your money, you should never invest it somewhere where it's even remotely unsafe and could be lost, because then everything is in vain. The next one basically says own your own home. So you shouldn't rent but buy a home and live in that one, which is actually not always correct nowadays, but I mean, this book was written like 100 years ago, so maybe this point was different then, but nowadays it's actually not always more profitable to buy a house than to rent. But on this topic there's huge discussions and books and whatever, so I'll just leave that be. The next one is ensure a future income. It basically means that even if you die, you should provide for your family, so just some like safety for the future of your family, which is basically insurance. And the last point is basically you should increase your ability to earn, which basically means you should start learning more and new stuff and learn new techniques, just become a better person and thus be able to earn more money. So yeah, that's the 7 reasons they have. As I said, I think everything is very decent except for the one with the home. That's nowadays actually pretty heavily discussed. Let's go to my likes and dislikes for this book. What I liked about the book was that the writing and the setting in ancient Babylon actually worked pretty well. I was thrown off a bit at first at the language and the setting, but I think it works reasonably well. And the ideas in this book, the 7 concepts, are good, if not very basic, but that's a decent introduction to like personal finance. What I didn't like is that some of the comparisons to ancient Babylon were a bit lacking, and sometimes the author tried to bridge from ancient Babylon to today. So he tried to go from the gold and shekels to savings accounts, and that just first of all it didn't feel right in the language he was writing, and it just felt very forced. But that's not huge at all. That was like really minor portions of the book. Another thing is that these ideas are good, but they're very basic. For me personally, not really anything of worth was added, and on top of that, after the first half of the book and all of these 7 cures for a lean purse are named, the author just starts to repeat the same stuff again, so there's not really any new substance in the book after the first half, which I don't know why he did it, but yeah, that's what happens here. So yeah, so in my opinion, the first half of the book would have been enough, but well, guess that would be too thin then. I mean, the book's really thin, like there's not really a lot to talk about here. So my score for this book is a 6 out of 10. It's not a bad book if you've never read anything about personal finance, but the ideas here are very basic. It's not an amazing book either, honestly. And as it says at the back of the book, it is hailed as the greatest of inspirational works. Yeah, no, not really. I think it can definitely serve as a great introduction to the world of personal finance, but if you have a bit of an interest in the topic or read something before about it, then I think this book isn't for you. So that's my take. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, leave a like and maybe sub to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye!